question is, I read about him, but what kind of, I've read Search for the Real and writers, but I'm interested in what kind of individual he was, what were the particular qualities that he had that made
Well, as a human being, he was a very fine person, a very lovable person, and I had a great respect for him. Now then, this doesn't have anything to do with him directly, but it was dealing more with the whole concept of abstract expressionism. He taught abstract expressionism a great long while, and he had students all the way to private schools, you know, and I would never have taught in a private school. I mean, I would never have private classes of my own, because then you're teaching for money from a particular person. You have to try to keep that student as long as you can, because that's where you make your money. He had students there for 10, 15 years. And besides that, every little old man and woman who retired started doing abstract expressionism. Now, what is abstract expressionism as it was a practice mostly? They didn't use two brushes, but it was a little bit like this. Abstract expressionism with most of the people who participated in it, I would say, is a very sort of naturalistic art. Didn't represent anything else except itself. Like I say, it's naturalistic. Certain motions are natural. This is a natural motion. This is a natural motion. This drawing water or reaching up, pulling berries off a fruit off the tree. Those are all motions that we all use. Okay, you get two brushes, you get painting and paint on them, and you start doing these natural things, natural movements. And the first thing you know, one is as good as the other. All of these little old men and women were turning out masterpieces. Well, only 3 or 4 people got credit for the whole thing. Polk, Franz Klein, and 2 or 3 more. And at one time, I know there were some galleries down on 10th Street, and Barr from the Museum of Modern Art came down looking at these galleries. And in one of the particular galleries, he saw some work by one of the little old women. He didn't know who she was. And he said, this is great. This person is going to be known very quickly. So he went back to the museum and started talking about this person and found out just who it was. It wasn't one of the young ones that they wanted to promote, and they've never heard of again. But the director of the gallery told some of us, this person is going to be famous before the end of the year. Never heard their name. Abstract expressionism is too much personal. And, it doesn't amount to too much, but you have to express it. It's a personal expression of reflexive movement that doesn't have much of the intellect in it. Now, I like art that has that reflects all of human faculties. A work of art that has come out of a unification of the intellect, the emotion, the unconscious, the conscious, the intuition, something else, curiosity. All of these faculties working in unison, so that you don't work for a while and then sit down and look and intellectualize, see where to go, the next step. That's working with all of your faculties disunited. Now, what I think should be done, and if I had remained in education, I would have worked on this, because I was also always very interested in psychology. what can we do? How can we go about trying to devise courses that would unite all of the student faculty? And you have a powerful thing. And I have a little bit of a clue to that. When I was a state supervisor of art education in Delaware, I had such a job that there was no time left for anything. I had something like maybe 100 students that I would try to visit once every 2 months or whenever I could. But I decided that I was going to do a painting every night before going to bed. And it was on weekends. Well, what kind of a painting can you do before going to bed? You can't get involved in oil. Had a little kitchen, and the kitchen sink was about this size. A full sheet of watercolor in those days was about this size. And put it in the kitchen sink, turn the water on, wet it, stretch it out on a little metal top kitchen table. Pour a few colors of paint on that, and just scatter them slightly or let them run together. And then look into that, throwing my mind as much as possible out of here. Nothing on the mind at all, much like a blank. And it's a little bit like reading a Rorschach test. So you look at this, and I would take either a brush, with a fine brush with a black ink or watercolor on it, and start outlining what I would see. I wouldn't see the whole form. Maybe I would put down what I see and not know what it's going to be. Finally, it might turn out to be an animal of some sort that I had never seen, or it would turn into people. The whole thing. A strange sort of surrealism. I did that for nearly 2 years. I have many works from that. But when I finished with that, and I didn't know it was going to happen, I didn't know that it was happening, I found out that all of my faculties were united. And never again did I work emotionally or unconsciously, consciously, and then intellectualize and work some more. Everything was happening at once. And it's been that way ever since. And I have never expressed this to a psychologist so that I got much of a rapport from it. They either don't know what I'm talking about, or not. I don't make myself clear. They're not interested. But to me, if I could say what I feel and think, I think that you agree that's one of the most important things in the world for everybody.
One of the things, like, again, as an educator, that I tell my kids sometimes is the corniest thing I do is stand up in front of you and try to be verbal about something that to me is really non-verbal. And when you talk about the senses and the combined, maybe the words or the terminology is different, but the thoughts or the feelings and all those things are there. When you try to go to explain them, it just disappears. And the psychologist, to me, and this is my own view again, is the guy that has to put this all in order. And maybe there isn't a place that can be ordered. Maybe I see something that resides within people. And you feel that way? That you're kind of, there's a little thing inside of you that's entirely different than other people are.
Well, of course, every person can say the same thing.
Yeah, everybody has.
Everyone's got one.
Have you ever worked in any, you work mainly in oil, or painting as a medium, have you worked in sculpture?
Yes, I have. Back in the 40s, I did some work in stone. In the 50s, I did work in metal. Early 60s, some wood. I did quite a lot of wooden reliefs in the mid-50s into the early 60s.
Did you just find that not as fitting a medium for you? Or
well, I felt that I could be a sculptor. I liked it very much. I also knew that I could have been a scientist just as easily. I could have been a dancer. or maybe a musician, but one can't be everything. I said, I know that I'm a good painter, and that I'm going to stay with.
I think I was talking to maybe it was your sister-in-law, but one of your relatives last night. She had said that you were the best dancer she had ever known.
Oh, that was one of my nieces, yeah.
And so I was wondering, you still go out and dance with her? New York disco, maybe?
Oh, yes. It's not every night.
Check that out.